welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. This is a story time. I think story time is the best place for it. I wanted to talk about more the baby. I want to talk about darkness. So I was thinking today about how annoyingly care bearish I am at this point in my life and how long it's taken me to get back into who I am, right? This is very much my personality. I've always been very happy, and for a long time I lost my innocence. Well, it was stolen, and people tried to take me down, right? And so I had a lot of darkness to work through, which is why I share what I do over here. But I want to talk about some of my darker days, and I don't think this is a good trauma talks because that's not, I want people to actually watch this and understand. So that's why I'm doing it as a story time. Because I think that there's such a stigma around having any sort of darkness, right? Anger. There's a lot of shame and fear. I mean, there's like it's like this like vault, right? Like, I'm thinking of the vault from Harry Potter, not Harry's, the one that the Sorcerer's Stone was in the first movie, and how it had all of those, like, different locks to unlock. That's what I feel like shadow work is. It's like, however you're feeling, like, whatever shadow aspects you have, they're, like, vaulted behind all of these other shadow aspects that society, your family, your friends, have put about those things, right? So, like, for me, my anger, I had never been an angry person until I was completely disregarded at that time that my family was like, you're having a mental breakdown, and they kept, like, trying to get rid of me, like, in the mental institutions and stuff, instead of being like, hey, Ash, let's talk, you know? It was like, ah! And so my anger, I remember that anger, and that anger for me was, what's the word here? Punished. Reprimanded, okay? So then, from that, I learned that I can't express my anger around these people, because if I do, they're just gonna do this, right? And so I feel like so many of us do this. I'm actually I have all these feelings on this wall. Angry. When you are angry, you feel hot and tense. When you are angry, you can take a deep breath and find a solution. So for me, that anger, now I've gotten to a point where I get angry when I get disrespected, but not to that extent, because I've done so much healing. Okay, so that's anger. So I want to talk about, I think that people who suffer with some sort of, I think most of us, all of us have some sort of trauma that affects our other relationships, right? And one of those for me is abandonment. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like it was probably, I blamed my dad for dying a lot on my abandonment wounds, but I think that it was stuff before that. I think that, my family relationships were intensified and awkward after that, but I think in terms of that initial abandonment feeling, it was probably way before that, right? So within my marriage, I've talked about this in the other trauma talks, if you've seen those, both of them. my marriage was very traumatic. But at one point in time, oh my god, at one point in time, Marley, yes, he's named after Uncle Bob. Anyway, at one point in time, I had, like, exorcist moments, okay? And I want to share this because I don't think enough people talk about their shadow. Not only exorcist moments, I also had complete destroying moments. Like I said, my anger. If I feel like I'm not being heard, I lose my shit. I do not allow that energy into my life anymore, again, because I understand that how bad it can get. But yeah, there were times in that, if you haven't watched the trauma talks about being trafficked, go watch that if you want. But that's gonna explain what I'm talking about, because there was this 6-month period where my husband was like taking me into mental institutions at the direction of my mother, right? Supposedly, I believe it. And then like leaving me there, and so I was getting like jacked up on all these meds. I was being forcibly held against my will, moved against my will, and so it wasn't for an entire 6 months that I was in one institution. It was every couple weeks I was being moved either by the institution or by my husband, back and forth and all around, right? And in those moments, when I did go home, the reason that they would call again is because I lost my shit. I absolutely was destroying shit in our house. I was throwing shit at walls. I was breaking shit. I was pissed off. And so I think, like rage rooms weren't a thing then. I really need to go to a rage room. But that's the kind of rage I had. I'll admit it. And that's the thing, I don't think enough people do admit it. I'm not proud of those days, but I understand why I was acting that way. And again, with some compassion, it could have been handled, right? It was just... for so many years of my life, I've been this thing that people feel like they need to put somewhere else, right? And if anyone feels like that, yeah, your feelings are valid about that, right? I don't let people do that to me anymore, and the people who have, except baby daddy, I've cut out. And the only reason I keep him in my life is because he pays our way, first of all, and second of all, he's Niall's father, So, it's not like we're together, but we do have, like, some sort of relationship, I guess. I don't know, not the word for it. We have an arrangement. Anyway. So, but the exorcist moment was out of despair. I remember that vividly. Again, it was because my abandonment wound was, it was not only activated, it was blatantly used against me, right? Again, by my husband at the time. And the night, he just left. He up and left one night, and he wouldn't take my phone calls, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing, right? Dude bro cheated on me the whole fucking time, right? Never admitted it, still want it, even if I asked him. I don't care at this point in time, but that takes a toll on you. Being gaslit, I use the phrase, I've been gaslit to hell and back many times, and that's the kind of situation I'm talking about. So when people disrespect you and you have a normal human response to that disrespect, no matter how bad it is, I believe it's super valid, and I believe that we need to carve out space for those feelings to be had, regardless of how damaging they are, right? I get pissed. I do. I had a sidekick. I threw that at the wall. That was the first time everyone was trying to lock me up. Today I watched the movie Mad Love with Drew Barrymore and Chris O'Donnell, and she gets locked up in a mental ward. And the whole plot of the movie is her just wanting to be free. And it sucks because at the end, yeah, we do spoilers over here. She gets put back in there, and it just sucks. But I feel like it's because I really resonated with her character, and I feel like that's probably why I'm sharing this with you guys, because it's sometimes you just need to feel that way, and the people who made you feel that way need to be held accountable for the way that they're making you feel, and they need to take responsibility for that, right? But we are living in these times of evil, of narcissism, of blatant disrespect, not even disrespect, but evil doing, right? Because I think when you know someone's hurting and you're the reason that they're hurting, and you continue doing what you're doing to hurt them, that's not cool, right? And I think some of us do that unintentionally, but for a lot of people they don't. They do it on purpose. It's their jam or whatever. But I just wanted to share the exorcism. Let me get to that. I was literally in the fetal position, shrieking like a banshee. It was such an, I remember so vividly, because it was a pain that was coming from my root chakra. Like, it felt ancestral, right? And there was a lot of ancestral shit between my husband and I because we were in an interracial relationship. And he was a misogynist, and I had like racism that I had grown up with, right? Like, I had to do that work, but he didn't do the work of his misogyny, right? And so it was like a very imbalanced thing. So like, no matter what argument there was, the race card was played, and I was always to blame, and that fucked me up too, right? So I just want you to know, so there's like so much going on. There's so many different layers to relationships, to interpersonal communication. But I want you to know, like, that I will never forget that night that I was on I was like on my knees. And I call it the exorcist moment because my body was like I was literally like backbending, like on my knees, backbending, just screaming out of frustration and despair and that abandonment wound. And it was so, no one was there. No one came to, I was the only one there, right? No one was there to support me out of that. Nobody cared. Not only did they not care, they actively ran away from that, right? Like, from any sort of supportive role or responsibility for making me feel that way. Now, what I learned from that situation that I also think is important to share here, first of all, it's totally cool to have those emotions. Second of all, try not to be so destructive, but if you are, I get it. You can only push someone so far, right? Like, what I endured, I would call it torture. I really would. The things that I've endured at varying parts of my life, I would consider torture. I mean, there were times when I was just like so confused. I was like, how can you treat someone like this? Like, I don't understand. I would never treat someone like this. I don't get it. But that situation, that whole relationship turned me into something different than what I've always been. And I'm finally getting back to that space where I have control over my own space, my own emotions, and I don't let people fuck with my energy. But it hasn't always been like that. I used to be very, very, very easily manipulated, but I learned the hard way how to not let that happen again, because the punishment for it was so drastic for me, right? So I want you to know, whatever you're feeling, I know there's a lot of depression right now. I know there's a lot of fear right now. I think all of that is super valid, and I think that as a collective, we're also feeling all of that. But if you feel yourself getting to a point, I think that those emotions need to come out. But we live in such a police state, right? That if you're around the wrong person when those emotions come out, there will be harsh consequences for it. And the longer and longer and longer you wait to actually feel those feelings, the more you stuff them down, the more explosive they will be when they come out. 'Cause that's what happened to me many times. It is, and now I work through it. I allow myself to feel them as they come, and then they're not so deep, right? As I feel mad, I get mad. I get annoyed. Like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from the mental load of single motherhood. I've never had a day off in my son's life. It's not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be like this. I found balance in it, but I still get really, it's a lot, It's a lot, especially as you can hear him. He's having big emotions right now. But all of that to say is that no matter how fucked up you are in certain points of your darkness, know that it will pass if you allow yourself to get through it. And if you forgive yourself for it, right? I never thought I would get on here and share those moments. I mean, those are the darkest moments that I have done darkness, right? I'm not someone who intentionally hurts people, but my anger was valid because I knew that I didn't deserve the way I was being treated. And that's why I say during the readings and stuff is, you know, your anger is valid, but it's the behaviors when you're angry that you need to be careful with. Trust me. They will lock you up, motherfuckers. You know, and I'm grateful that I didn't have harsher sentences. But what I went through was still awful, right? How did I heal it? I got away from the space. There's that one saying, you can't heal heal where you were harmed, right? Or something along those lines. And, you know, when I was pregnant, that's what I was really working through was, we're not, like, this is not going to be a good situation for him, for Niall, for my kid. I didn't know it was a him at the time, but for my baby, this is not going to be a good situation. Like, his parents hate each other. Like, we are not good together. We don't respect each other. I mean, I respected him. I was not respected, though. I mean, I tried to respect him. There were times I went. I didn't. There were some points I was just like I was just baffled by the evil. I was like, are you... I use the R word a lot. I'm like, are you... Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you treating me like that? Like, why would you do that? I don't even understand. Like, there has to be a chemical imbalance here. Because I'm like, why would you treat a human this way, right? But, yeah. So, I've yelled at a lot of people, but I think that's the thing, you know, we are encouraged to, you know, and now you guys have, like, adopted, like, the younger generations have adopted this language, like, crash out, and you've, like, normalized, this feeling of overwhelm, and I'm really excited about that. I think that's really great. I think the younger generations are also really good, like, better with emotions, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with emojis. Like, you're encouraged to express your emotions. When we were growing up, it was just like, you sit down, you shut up, don't fucking touch anything, don't say anything, because if you do, everyone's gonna look at you like you're a fucking moron, and, you know, don't have feelings, right? Like that. But we also were able to, like, be around our friends, and free, right? But anyway, I want you to know that, you know, relatively speaking, whatever you feel, I believe I'm not calling on anyone to harm anyone else, but I am letting you know that I wouldn't judge you. I think that, I mean, that's why I'm sharing what I shared. I myself have also been there. I've been so pissed off that I have done harm. And I'm not proud of it, but, like, look at nature. When you know, shit happens, nature reacts, right? I just did a bot, baby. Hey. Let me see if you can get a ball. Come on. Anyway, I think he's gonna have a crash on us. Ah! Alright. But yeah, allow yourself to, you know, maybe you need to get, like, maybe you just need to take a break from what it is if you can. Try and get some space and time from whatever it is that's hurting you if you are in this space right now. And if this is something that was in your past, you know, maybe you were reprimanded for having big feelings at one point in your life, or, you know, acting on a feeling, right, and causing harm of some sort. I want you to know that you're worthy of the respect that you knew that you deserved in that moment that caused you to have that feeling, right? No one's ever told me that, and I'm, like, looking directly at myself. It was valid. It was totally valid. The things that I was enduring at the hands of the people closest to me, or the people who were supposed to love and care for me, it was an incredibly valid thing to do, is break some shit, scream a lot, completely valid. Take yourself to a rage room if you can. And I would love to hear about it.